Hey everyone, Tony D and Little Joan here with a hot take on censorship and general woke stupidity. Smash like and subscribe. Thank you for smash liking and subscribing. Please check out my books. Links in the description. Wokistan, a novel. Hollywoke, another novel. And of course, the Pineys, books 1 through 5. Comedy, horror in South Jersey. Check us both out on BitChute and Rumble. Now, Twitter. Ask users to check their language. I think they tried this maybe 2 years ago, where you would tweet and then you would get a little thing that would say, "Are you sure you want to say that? Maybe you ought to rethink it, you bigot." No, it didn't say that part, but it just basically tries to slow you down when you post. At this point, I don't know why Twitter just doesn't initiate their own language, right? You know, they should just interpret everything you say for everybody, right? So if you say something a little spicy, Twitter automatically just tones it down for you to make everything boring and conformist as possible, because that's what made Twitter great. If you're tired of cancel culture and censorship, subscribe to Reclaim the Net. This is from reclaimthenet.org. And they say, in an effort to combat, quote, hateful content, Twitter has relaunched the test on prompt asking users to revise potentially hateful reply to a tweet. At this point, you've scared off every person who even thinks about posting something a little too off color. Okay? You can't even do it anymore without getting completely bombarded by everyone. "Oh my God, I can't believe you said that. Oh, you're terrible. I'm reporting you." Ah! There's no freedom on Twitter. This is totally unnecessary at this point. The cancel culture mob will just cancel you and ruin your life. And anybody with any common sense has gotten off of Twitter already. This is why 2% of the population of the United States. Yeah, that's 2%. That would be, let's see. 1% would be 3 million people. So about 6.6 million people across the United States use Twitter in the U.S. Now, there are more around the world in other countries, but in the United States, you're looking at about 6.5 million people. That's about the population of what? New York is 9 million. I think Philly's around that level. No, I think it's lower than that. I think Philly's lower than that. But still, out of 330 million people, that's not a lot of people. And yet, Twitter is driving so many things because so many people in the upper echelons of our media keep listening to these woke tards. This isn't going to help anything. This is just going to make it a bigger echo chamber. Stop trying to fix this, Twitter. You can't fix people. Bill Gates bashes Twitter over Trump lifetime ban. Wow. Wow. Now here's a guy who couldn't be more establishment, and even he is sick of this censorship. I think Twitter's on its way out anyway. Without Trump, why even go to it? I mean, I promote there, I sell some books, but quite frankly, I still am purging people from my Twitter account. They're just too woke. You know, when somebody retweets comments from Hillary Clinton to me, I just go, you can't be on my feed. I don't want to see her comments. Hillary Clinton should not be retweeted at any time. She has nothing to say that is relevant in my view. I think she's a total liar. Why would you retweet her like, "Oh, well, here's the real president"? No, you're wrong. Even by your own standards, you leftist woke tards. Biden is the most popular president in history. So, revise that. Oh, Hillary Clinton can't hold a candle to Biden, according to you. California is sending a $600 stimulus check to illegal and poor residents. This budget is going to be creating long-term obligations to the undocumented. Oh, is that what they're called? You know what you're called in other countries when you sneak into their country illegally without a passport, without showing any paperwork, without going through customs, without making sure you're not, say, carrying a contagious disease? You're called a criminal. Okay? You can't enter any other country in the world legally just by walking across the border. They don't like that. And if you do it, you're a criminal and they will arrest you and they'll throw you in jail. Oh, but in the United States, according to leftist idiots, anybody should be able to come in and not only that, get $600. This is what happened in Europe. It's way worse there. This is part of the reason Brexit happened. Germany, which controls the EU mostly, opened the floodgates to migration. They came up through the Italian boot and just flooded the country. Just flooded the country. It's a little like the Cubans floating to Florida on a door. They would float to Italy from northern Africa. Smugglers would take them in, and then since the EU is essentially free travel amongst the states, once you're inside Europe, once you're inside the EU, you can go to any of the countries. So they would go to the ones with the best. Obviously, I mean, this is smart. I'm not knocking the immigrants for doing this. You go to the best country with the best, free stuff, and you live there, because living in your war-torn country, like Syria, is a nightmare. How do you get a job in Syria? So this is the same sort of thing. I mean, $600, it's worth it for somebody to come here from, say, the poorest parts of Mexico just to get the $600, because that goes a long way in Mexico. Our money is still worth more in Mexico. And while you're here, you're not in Mexico. You got access to everything. In Mexico, I feel like it's a little like the 70s down there. In terms of the stuff you have access to and the technology and whatnot. They still have the internet and everything, but it's a lot more low-key. And there's a lot of problems with crime. So I don't blame people for wanting to come here. But when you open the doors, everybody comes here. Everybody. And there are plenty of immigrants, they just come here, they work, and then they go home. They send their money back home. And what it does here, it depresses wages. It sends our money to another country. Yeah, it helps people, but it hurts people here. And it continues to put these people in a precarious position because some of them aren't so lucky. Some of them don't make it across the border. They get killed. They die in the desert. They get exploited by gangsters. They get here. They get exploited by employers who hire them illegally and then don't pay them or turn them into the INS so they don't have to pay them. It's not right. It's not right. It's one thing, and look, you can let in some people, sure, but we have to have a controlled border, or else everybody comes in, including people that everybody would agree are too scary to let in the country. So California, please stop. You're insanity. You got to recall Governor Gavin Newsom. I mean, he's just a maniac in my view. Democratic California Governor Gavin Newsom is expected to sign legislation Tuesday that will send $600 stimulus checks to 5.7 million residents, including illegal immigrants. That's over $300 million. California doesn't have that money. They're broke. They've been broke. They've been deep in the hole. On top of the fact, they've been locked down. They've had some of the most draconian lockdowns ever. Businesses are going out. You've got to rebuild the state. It's insanity. It'd be different if California was in its heyday and this was extra money lying around. Then nobody would care. I mean, I would care if I was a California resident because I don't want that extra money going to illegal aliens. I'd rather have that extra money in my pocket by having lower taxes. But at least if you were doing that, that would make a certain amount of economic sense. You wouldn't be endangering the people in the state, but you're endangering people in the state, Gavin Newsom. Gavin Newsom, who thinks he can break the rules, on top of the fact that illegal aliens, they do not get tested for COVID. And once they come here, they're even less likely to get tested because they're living here illegally and they have to hide. Illegal aliens aren't going to go to the doctors to get tested for COVID. Do you know how sick an illegal alien has to be to go to the doctor? They have to be like on the verge of death. Have you ever met illegal aliens? I have. They're some of the hardest working people in the world because they have to be. And they just have an amazing work ethic. But you're exploiting them by bringing them here. And Gavin Newsom, let's be honest, he's just virtue signaling. It's disgusting. House Democrats demand censorship of Fox News, Newsmax, and OAN. Two House Democrats sent a letter to every major cable provider essentially demanding that they stop carrying the conservative news networks Fox, Newsmax, One American News, as reported by Politico. Representatives Ann Eshoo, D., California, and Jerry McNerney, D., California, sent their letter to every major cable provider, including AT&T, Verizon, Roku, Comcast, Dish, Cox, Hulu, and others, as well as Google's parent company, Alphabet. In the letter, they falsely described the three cable news channels as, quote, misinformation rumor mills and conspiracy theory hotbeds that produce content that leads to real harm, baselessly claiming that the channels, quote, all aired misinformation about the November 2020 elections. What is wrong with these people? They couldn't let 2016 go. Now they can't let 2020 go, and they won. There's only one cure for this. These people have to be taken out of office by the voters. If you're in California, you got to vote these guys out. You just have to get rid of all the Democrats for a while, at least until the state recovers. You have to recover from the Democrats. Go the other way for a while. It was never this bad back in the 70s and 80s. There was a certain amount of Republicans because there was money in California, and people with money usually were Republicans. Now they're all woke maniacs, determined to destroy their own state, and then, well, we destroyed it, all right, so we're moving. These people are all going to move. You know, as their state becomes a hellhole, they'll move. That's the problem. Well, it's one of the problems anyway. Ex-Clinton advisor Naomi Wolf warns U.S. becoming totalitarian state before our eyes under Biden. This is an ex-Clinton aide saying this. Author tells Tucker Carlson tonight Americans must wake up before it's too dangerous to fight back. It's already kind of dangerous to fight back, but yeah, you got to speak out. And one way to speak out is to write your congressman and senator. I'm telling you, if you keep writing these people, eventually they crack. They don't like getting a lot of emails and letters complaining. Now, I recently discovered, or not recently, but I didn't realize that I used to live somewhere else, and I thought I had a different rep, and I thought I was under one of the Democratic reps. I actually have a Republican rep, but he's merely an average Republican. You know, he's not super hardcore. But I'm trying to push him a little bit because a lot of this stuff, you know, I read you one of my letters I got back. You gotta write these guys. They gotta feel the pressure. They don't feel the pressure. What do you expect when they screw up and allow stuff to happen? And Biden needs to be put in check. He needs that check. And here's a new book from Breitbart that looks very interesting. Bombshell investigative book exposes deep corruption within America's media establishment. It's called Breaking the News. But, you know, we kind of already knew that, right? Exposing the establishment's media's hidden agendas and secret corruption. This is by Breitbart's news editor, network editor-in-chief, Alex Marlowe. And you should also check out Mark Dice's book. He's got a good book on that too. what was it called? Hollywood something something. But it's bad. Meanwhile, over on the Hill, Garland hadn't thought about whether illegal border crossing should remain a crime. This is the guy who's going to be the next Attorney General, everybody. The Biden administration has made a number of significant moves on immigration. What they're going to do, my understanding is, they're just going to say, well, crossing the border is not a crime. Good luck to you. And they'll do catch and release again. Meaning that they'll basically let anybody in here. It'll just take a while. They catch you. And if you're really, really bad, I guess, they might send you home. But, most of these people they get a court date and then they're set off into the wilderness of the United States. Because they'll always wonder, am I going to be deported? So they'll always be illegal. They'll always work for cheap. And they'll always undermine American workers and themselves. That's unfair to the immigrants and the American workers. It's unfair to everybody. Biden should not do that. When he talks about an 8-year plan to citizenship, what he means is, well, by the time the Republicans get in, it'll be their problem. Oh, I promised you you'd get citizenship in 8 years. It's not my fault the Republicans said, oh, we're not going to do it now. It doesn't make any sense. He doesn't care about you. He's just wants to lower the wages for his corporate buddies. Biden's Attorney General pick also waffles on boys showering with girls. Very difficult societal question. Not really. Have you been a teenager? I would have lost my damn mind if a girl had. I couldn't even shower at all in the gym. I wouldn't do it. I didn't want to get naked in front of anybody, much less girls. Forget it. I would have never gone to school. If some trans guy came into the shower and it was like, oh, well, she was born a girl, but she identifies as a guy and she's going to shower, I'd have lost my damn mind. I'd have been like, I can't handle this. I don't know whether to get a boner or go home. You can't do that to teenagers. They're already going cuckoo bananas. You're going to have kids having sex in the showers. That's what you're going to end up with. You're going to end up with coaches trying to break kids up while they're having sex in the shower. Because just because you're a trans guy doesn't mean you can't be attracted to guys. Just because you're a trans man doesn't mean you can't be attracted to girls. So you're just asking for an absolute craziness. What you could do is have separate showers for the trans girls and trans guys. But there's actually not that many of them as a population. So it should be pretty easy to have a separate shower for them. And then this way, the kids don't have to feel weird about it. Why would you feel weird about showering alone? You can open it to anybody who wanted to shower in private. They would just have to wait in line, I guess. But this is just, imagine you have a daughter and she's 12 and there's a trans girl in her class and she demands to shower with the girls. And she's a head taller and, I don't think you want your daughter to see a naked guy. Your daughter, especially if you're religious, but you don't have to be religious to say that's probably a bad idea. Harvard researchers, COVID wouldn't be so bad if U.S. paid reparations. Okay, that's it. I'm done. I'm done with this news now. I need a break, Joan. I can't take this. This is such a stupid headline. Wages and benefits would reflect the risk of these jobs. What the hell are you talking about? What has happened to Harvard? What has happened to Harvard? Get woke, go stupid, I guess, is the motto for them. Researchers at Harvard Medical School claim that reparations could have slashed beer virus transmission by as much as 68%, and Louisiana had minority American households received as much as $850,000 each prior to the pandemic. Well, I guess so. If you had almost $1 million each, you could do whatever you want. You could have built, I guess, an entire dome around your house. You could have bought a house and lived there. You could have moved out of Louisiana. Oh my God. I can't read anymore. I'm done with this video. Let's move on to the next, Joe.